Anyway, we are getting ready for the draft here, as this is game 1. You mentioned it before. It might host the best kind of compositions, what they're practiced most at, depending on what does get, of course, targeted here. The bans on red side, these are the 2 that you must ban. They are required bans, unless you are crazy, like KT that one time against T1. Still remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. They've had their fair share of drafting shenanigans. Remember the Zyra pick?
Yeah.
That happened. Still won that game. As first pick here, Jace has been extremely high on the prio list. Would not be shocked to see that picked up. Cassante is the other end. And with how Rich has been playing, I think Cassante is the right call. Champion is very, very versatile. Really good in lane swaps, because I haven't talked about him that much, but yeah, lane swaps are still here. And Cassante is one of the champions that, as long as he can hit level 2, will be substantially harder to die, particularly with the Elise already taken away. Now, Sponge has actually put a really high prio on the Nidalee, and DRX has been happy to play it. To be completely fair, I think neither of these 2 junglers have been performing to the level where a Nidalee prio this high makes that much sense, because the champion, even again with Sponge having some really good early games, you make a mistake in mid game and you just get completely clapped. Compositionally, it does make sense to compare to Jace as, with the Nidalee. If you slap an Azrael on top of this, you have a great poke composition. As the Zyra gets locked in, still very high prio jungler here because of her clear speeds being kind of crazy. But picking Zyra into what already looks like a pretty good poke comp is just always... I know Jace isn't just pure poke anymore ever since the user builds came to be, but we'll see what ends up rounding out the composition here. I imagine a mid laner for Yukao, and I hope it's for Teddy, because that's Corki.
Yeah. So we talked about preparation a lot, especially when it comes to best of 5s, but also for best of 3s. I think that Jace should be higher prio than Cassante, but Cassante is fine. And then you go for Zyra response in the Nidalee, which hasn't worked, and the Zyra priority has fallen off in a big way here at the LCK. And Corki is like, what is he, 2 and 12? Maybe there was like another game at the end.
Maybe one more. There's the Ezreal. Yeah, no surprise at all.
Yeah.
Want to reiterate, DN Freaks have not won a single game on red side yet. This so far looking good, Valdez. I think they're feeling great. Blue side really has been kind of at the forefront, and there is still flex potential, but the Corki mid just hasn't hit the mark, and Yukao has been the best performing player. I would love to see him on something that feels like it can really hard carry games.
Yeah.
And even when Corki was good, like outside of package, it feels like he isn't really that type of champion. You know, like if we look at what Yukao has performed on thus far, this isn't really something that I think you're going to be super excited about.
Yeah, I really liked when he was playing Sylas.
Yeah.
That felt really good. He was a playmaker, he was doing a lot of damage.
Nico game as well, right?
Yeah. Nico?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, he stole Nico's ult.
There you go. Yeah.
Technically.
That'll.
There you go.
Okay, yeah.
So they're kind of covering both bases. They're saying, okay, Yukao could play this, but he might be flexing that in the bot, and we have to be worried about his Sylas, so we will ban that away. So good timing for us to be talking about his Sylas.
Yeah.
He definitely is very strong on the pick.
Happy to see that. Now, what DN Freaks can do is they can also pick a support here and then still kind of keep up in the air where everything is going, because Jace can, of course, still be flexed. Rel would make sense. Gives engage to a team. I wouldn't mind more disengage. I think that already the range battle is looking amazing. But not going to be the case, as Teddy is going to be picking up the Kai'Sa. Does confirm that, unfortunately, the Corki is going mid. And then what, Nautilus, Poppy, I think both make a lot of sense. Nautilus is just really consistent with Kai'Sa and quite strong into Ezreal specifically, because you can guarantee a plasma proc and guarantee lockdown on a very slippery AD carry. But Poppy is really good into a lot of what DN Freaks have, particularly in blocking the Rel engages. Bulldog, bit of a smile. That is a champion we've seen him play a lot, and it fits into the comp beautifully as well.
Yeah, it really does. And you mentioned it before, Jace isn't really a poke champ now. He's a tank. He's a bit of both, right? So you have a frontline, a legitimate one. You've got tank, Jace, and Rel. That's enough. And you have just oodles and boodles of poke. It's just oozing out of this composition. Everybody can do it, except Rel, I guess. But
and the engage isn't that good.
Well, they picked Poppy into a poke comp, you know? I don't know, man. You got blue side, and this is the draft? I'm not impressed, Chronicler.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more worried I get for DRX. And this is blue side as well, right?
Yeah.
Generally, the blue side game is the one that you really want to start off with. Now, we have seen drafts kind of fall apart as soon as people and teams hit the rift, so not going to be too premature, but I think that the composition of DN Freaks makes a ton of sense. You have a great damage spread. The execution is going to be the big thing. This team hasn't looked that clean, and poke comps are notoriously finicky if you ever miss position. It's not like there isn't any catch potential on DRX, but it is pretty dependent, I'd say, on people either being out of position or on denying vision, like walking into vision traps.
What is the Zyra going to do as well? I imagine if Jace like just kind of sends it full forward, she can get a lot of value. Outside of that, you know, trying to match in Italy.
And there's a Kai'Sa as well, so you want to dive, but it's all over the place. So
go like poke, but it's going to be worse poke. I don't know. It's weird. It's going to be a weird one here for game number 1. Let's see how it all pans out on the Rift right now. The fans are pumped here at LOL Park, getting ready for this first game. It's one best of 3 that will determine if you move on to the next round. You lose one game, then it's essentially match point for your entire LCK Cup. So a lot on the line here from the get-go. And for this one best of 3. This isn't the only best of 3 we have tonight, by the way, guys. If you are curious, we do have Gnomeship with their new roster with Kingen and Lehens, the 2 veterans, and they will be going up against the Bros, which obviously a fan favorite and a Dagon favorite. He is here today as well. So should be exciting as we do come along here on the day.
Extremely aggressive ward coverage here. Looks like DRX want to ensure that they don't get stuck in the 2v2. Cassante in the lane swap is always going to feel happy. And the Kai'Sa has a notoriously rough early laning phase, as unfortunately production is very ready for the Dagon cam with the bro shoutout, but Dagon himself.
He is gone.
Yes.
From the space, yeah.
Well, he might still be there, just not in view of any of the cameras.
No, he's not there!
He's not there? Where are our spacers? As the Zyra has looked very rough thus far. And Zyra really, to me, does feel like one of those picks where it was really good for a long while when we were playing with, a lot of the AD carries. And I also think Zyra is a jungler that just feels amazing to play. If you're a jungler and you're on like something like, I don't even think Sejuani is the worst, but like Maokai is a good example, and you're just trudging through the jungle. And then you have Zyra, where you can do a full clear in what, like 310, 305, if you really optimize your plant usage. It's always going to feel amazing when it comes to tempo. But it does...
They're going to go for this, actually. Level 1, and Rich, not much that he can do. The flash away is perfect timing, and the Ignite gets the kill. First Blood will go over to the DN Freaks. It does go to the Rel, unfortunately, but still, a lot of pressure down here on the bottom side, and Dudu's just going to stick around.
We'll have very close, possibly even 2 plates being taken as well. Looks like Dudu should be able to get just not one more wave crash, and he will be able to get that. And they're not really giving anything up either, because Pyosik wasn't involved in that, right? You see Sponge trying to look for a possible contest, but because it was just Dudu, Berserker, and Life, that was the end of it. And we talked about Cassante, when you hit level 2, you're incredibly hard to dive, but you do need to hit level 2. Wasn't the case, and it was DRX that opted for this lane swap. Again, they had some extremely deep wards, specifically with the goal of trying to look, as Berserker is, that's not a great back. It's gonna have to just do that again. And that's just after they swap to match the 2v2. That's gonna be a substantial experience disadvantage now.
It's pushing into DRX as our production is continuously showing, which is just gonna deny even more and more away from Berserker. So, I mean, that little poke, it feels like just so much. It's a gigantic weight now on Berserker. They're going to have to call Pioshik up to try to break this freeze that they have.
Yeah, what happened? He didn't even, Ando didn't even have to flash. Must have set a trap as here, very straightforward. I think Rich, not sure how, I feel like if you know that Dudu is there, then you should just back off.
Well, he was like in the wave.
From the, yeah,
he was standing there menacingly. It was very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe feeling like your Cassandra, and he was able to TP back, catch most of the wave. So the gold going to the rel, like the dive didn't actually end up mattering that much at all. So maybe his call was just, I get enough, I can TP back. It's not that big a deal, which it doesn't end up being. I want to see what happened to Berserker there, right? Like, how did he just
walked in a straight line. The Poppy was sitting in the brush, and
I guess
Andil just walked in a straight line towards him and knocked him into the wall.
Maybe read that they were continuing to swap. Not sure what the backs look like, but
I mean, Teddy was on the wave, so he knew Teddy was there.
Yeah, well,
but probably not that Andil was there.
Yeah, maybe getting a bit dizzy with the continuous swaps. But it ends up being a full kill worth of gold lead here for Teddy. With the wave, we're going to now bounce back. And Berserker and Life just swapping again here. Or maybe just looking for a base, we'll have to see. Grubs are coming up, so swapping away doesn't seem like that is going to be the call. But maybe you should. I don't know if you can really contest with how things have been playing out thus far, because Life and Berserker are so far behind, you can't fight for prio. So being topside isn't really going to do anything.
Yucal just running into a level 6 Wei, Valkyrieing into him, in fact, as that's a bunch of damage coming down. Yucal, he knows that he doesn't have to flash, but getting very low at this timing, right when the grubs spawn. Not very good, although they're not going to go for the grubs, DNF that is. They're just taking the Infernal Drake. We saw Pioshik soloing that at the moment, so should be just a trade of objectives here. Feels very LCK.
Yeah, just all a runoff from that earlier play where Andil found Berserker. Can't fight for prio top, so contesting doesn't really do anything. Yucal also unfazed by the amount of damage that Bulldog is throwing at him. And yeah, Dudu is really benefiting from being in this 1v1 against the Cassante. So maybe that's the call, is that we keep Berserker and Life towards the top side in that 2v2. CS remains at about 20 plus here for Teddy. But if they have a window where Teddy hits 6, they actually do have a good amount of threat on Life and Berserker, so they're really going to have to be respectful. Experience is getting pretty close. A lot of ward coverage here for DRX as well.
Yeah, looks like that Seeker hits Berserker, just showing him moving out of the lane. Might just kind of sit in the lanes here for now. It's just Dudu enjoying his time on the bottom side. Looks like Bulldog also enjoying his time in the mid lane. So it's not even just the mid Corki that comes through. It's also relatively early prio on the Corki. It was the 3rd pick in the draft on the blue side. You know, they could have gone for something else. Yeah, still not too happy with it, but we've seen Corkis that actually get fed, and when they do win games, they do an incredible amount of damage. It's just, you know, that's the ideal scenario. We just don't see the ideal scenario so many times that it just feels so slow and lackluster.
Yeah, it's also Bulldog is, I think, known for 2 things. One is Tristana, and then the other one is specifically mages, right? Like these long stationary artillery mages. I think he was the first, if I remember correctly, the first guy that in a long time brought out the Zeref. And even if a lot of them don't end up working, this is clearly a playstyle that he really enjoys. So, yeah, the Corki, we'll try not to keep harping on it, but you've all seen the stats, you've seen the limited impact, and then also take into account that Yuka has been by far the best performing member on DRX. We do also see the Zyra value here, even though I think in teamfights, again, Sponge is really going to struggle. As of right now, he is able to keep up with Nidalee, and otherwise might have been a lot harder.
Yeah. Last Corki thing, we said 2-12 before. It's actually 2-14. Did grab a couple of losses there at the end of group stage. As trying to set something up here is Sponge as the ult comes down onto Bulldog. And there you go! The root makes him just so vulnerable, and Bulldog tries to get away, and instead he just straight up dies.
Or Corki Valdez.
I was looking at our UI. I'm like, he did die, right?
he also flashed. I was like,
yeah, he flashed. He's not Ezreal. Okay.
Yeah, this is one of those things that as a caster, you're like, I watched him flash, right? And then you have the little UI. It's
like was it the wrong team? Like, did I mess it up? No. Because we have definitely done that before. That's part of the anxiety there. So yeah, nice little pickup for DRX, like the gank. And they're going to take the gold lead with it.
As we take another look here, really UCal, what we now know was a masterful bait setup. Didn't really feel like it at the time. Goes in, all the cooldowns for Bulldog are used, and then just a really nice little angle here by Sponge, because obviously Corki has no CC, so if he doesn't hit that E, they're never going to kill him. And then Bulldog, unfortunately, flashing after the fact. Big mistake there. Got either flash the root or accept that death is imminent if you do get clipped. And that is the kill, also going over to Sponge, who is going to be a nuisance if he gets to actually have his plant damage enemy champions. Which I'm going to keep hammering on it, because I think once actual team fights start playing out, it's going to be quite tough. Now, there is one angle for DRX that we haven't discussed as much, and maybe that is what they're playing towards, which is that if they're able to get substantial enough leads in their 1v1s that they just have prio, like a poke comp without prio doesn't really do anything. They are very reliant on vision. So I like that DRX have now put UCal in a better position. Obviously, Teddy in side lane is going to be a really big nuisance as well. And Rich is behind. Who cares? He's Cassante. Also, he's Rich. I feel like he isn't really bothered by any of that.
Yeah, that's kind of his game. Ooh, nice poppy ult that's going to get Bulldog out of the fight. And just like that, you see DNF backing away and trying to smite this away. Not going to happen. Pyosik, he will be able to hop out. But that's 6 grubs now over to DRX. And you were talking about getting lane leads and just enjoying the early game. With 6 scrubs, you can begin to snowball that. And as you mentioned, will we get to see this poke comp really take off if DRX gets a big enough lead with all of the benefits they have already?
I think second Drake would be really big here for DN Freaks, and we do see the base come in from live trying to play for that. We'll see if Bulldog is able to generate mid lane prio. Bot lane prio nowhere to be found, with Berserker needing to play respectful. Still a full level down, by the way. And if DRX are able to get both the grubs as well as this objective, would be huge. A lot of damage coming down. But yeah, DN Freaks just need time. Need to keep poking, prodding away at this. I don't think DRX are going to give it to him, though.
It's a flip here, and it goes to Kaisa, as actually Pyosik got knocked up and wasn't able to get in the pit. Now, Life got a kill, but in goes Teddy. He's going to get an assassination, and that's a second kill going to DRX now, plus the Drake that they did pick up. That did go the way of Teddy, so you got to like DRX's position now, especially after a fight like that.
Yeah, DRX are going to be feeling great about that. Currently going to be up a couple of kills on key members. Did go over a little bit of gold with Sponge dying there, but not going to be the end of the world as we take another look. So DN Freaks haven't really hit the item breakpoints yet. Actually, again, a big root there to make sure that Pyosik can't get into the pit, because if he's into the pit, would have been an opportunity to steal there. Not going to be the case, and then as soon as the initial burst from DN Freaks is weathered, DRX definitely fine, as we do see that Drake now being taken. That's Poppy. That's going to be hard. Andu has been holding onto his flash as well to make it even harder, as, ooh, I've seen this one before.
Nice flash here from Dudu. Speed up comes in, but the smite and an inevitable root. I think Dudu's not very long for this one. Shock blast is going to hit into Rich. Pyosik is here, that is true. Heal comes in, and all of a sudden, we got an interesting 2v2 as Rich will look for the play, but he's taking a ton of damage on the backside of this. Some more poke comes out from Pyosik, and both teams will just do nothing and disengage.
Oh, they don't know. I might be looking. Either go for a W on Dudu, and it's like, nah, I'm just going to catch the wave, which probably is the right call. It is in Italy with flash, so the chances of you actually killing her are quite low. Yeah, Rich, I think the classic, I'm going in and then realizing that even though Cassante's mana costs are kind of a meme, you do still use it. Like, oh, wait, not sure about that one. Nicely done by Dudu. Good stall. Able to make it out with his life. Does have to invest his flash, but he's not going to be too bothered by that. And a possible fight for Herald, when it does eventually come up, with this chase now becoming more and more of a strong point around the map, could be an angle here for the DN Freaks, and the goal is also even. This is kind of what I was hoping for between these two teams.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the cleanest League of Legends. It's messy, but stuff's happening. We won't get fun Otacon, but
that doesn't exist here. It's already been declared as voracious here as we pass the 14-minute mark, but yeah. Feat Strength did go over to DRX, by the way. They got those 3 kills first with the play on the Dragon, and they got the objective, so they're feeling pretty good about that. The 1 Infernal, pretty good for the side of DM Freaks. It's not going to be huge, but when your whole comp does damage, it feels pretty good. They got some more plates as well, which is really keeping the golds pretty close, as that's going to be the Fear and the ult into Ondil. Just trying to boost his damage numbers before the end of the game.
You got to stack that Archangels as well. It's very important.
True. Yeah. That's a very good angle. Thank you, Chronicler.
I do wonder if this isn't the type of game where you can get away with building a bit more damage focus. Archangels obviously provides a ton of extra survival potential, but outside of Teddy diving on top of you, I feel like generally you should be fine with the positioning that you're going to be looking for. That said, if he did have Archangels, he wouldn't have died in the gank earlier. So, right now, both teams dead even on gold. I guess the Herald fight might be a big opportunity for either of them here to really take a lead. Looking at the item finishes, as Yukao...
Assassin Corky is getting in there. The flash and the dodge on the missile. He goes back in, but it's traded. And it's actually Bulldog who makes the most of it. Barely getting away, able to trade back the kill, but he was pretty much done for. As
Spear?
Rich, he's in a bit of trouble, but he is Cassante.
Well, if they hit their skill shots, I think he would have been dead.
It's difficult. Poke comps, you know, you actually need to be able to hit your stuff, so that could be a little bit of an issue. We do have a trap here in the bush, not going to be contesting, and not contesting on the Herald either.
Yeah, because with that extended play of them towards the bot side, you don't really get too much. So Yukao here actually very aware of his own damage spike, and then could have just let it be the end of it. Yeah, did go back in. So I think kind of implicitly accepted the fact, maybe thought that he wouldn't die. But with the new turrets, you know you're always going to end up going down there.
Yeah.
That said, I still think that most likely favors DRX because they got the Herald of it, and Rich survive. And if Sponge can start like Hextech Drakes, obviously we always talk about how broken Hextech is, but Zyra with Hextech is Corky.
Not okay.
Kaisa.
Yeah, I mean, this is when we were looking at the draft, we were like, well, they have elements of poke as well. It just doesn't feel as good as the DN Freaks one. But if you're ahead and you have Hextech Soul, then it doesn't matter what the comps look like. Your poke's going to be better.
I swear, Veldas, this entire game, I just see Rich at like 20% HP.
Yep.
He's just perpetually getting bullied, which is also why you can see the gold deficit come through here. That said, they used Sponge's ultimate, but most likely are still going to make a play for this Drake. I do see some backs coming through, so I guess they are going to vacate instead. Whoa.
Oh, gonna hit it. That is excellent from Teddy. Can he finish the job? One more auto might do it. There you go. Under the turret, Teddy picks up a kill just by himself as well. Rich not even part of that. So excellent. Nice little pickup. As now looking for a bit in mid here. It does look like they did give up the Drake for this, as they're actually looking for a couple of turrets instead.
Yeah, we keep going for these side lane plays, and I do think getting Teddy kills is obviously great. And because they have the Herald, I think they get away with this. But it is one of those moments where, is the one kill really worth giving up a Dragon? No, it is. They're able to get top shove as well, able to get mid lane turret pretty substantially chunked. So I don't think DRX is going to be too worried about how this plays out, and that's the 6 grub value, baby. Look at that.
Yeah, I think they made a call as a team like, hey, let's use what we've gained from the early game, which is the 6 grubs and our Herald. So we're just going to get immense pushing value. They did not take the mid tier 1, so that still stands, barely. But that is going to be something that Berserker can farm around, at least, as long as he doesn't get flashed on by UCal, who has decided that every champion is an assassin. It is UCal after all.
He's making Corki look good. That's maybe perhaps the most impressive thing we're watching in this game. As I say that,
you are very good at caster cursing. It is true.
Curses are unreal, Valdez.
They definitely are when it comes to your curses, at least.
So we take another look here. Do take note of his flash. Actually very cool. Ends up flashing away to ensure that he doesn't get feared away right here. Otherwise, might not have the damage. Even with the Archangels, not enough health, and Bulldog really having a tough game here on the way. Currently 1-3.
Well, we have the slow there on Andil, and now he's in a little bit of trouble. Bulldog do not push into all of those people. Gonna get some extra vision from the True Shot Barrage. And yeah, I mean, he was doing well in lane, Bulldog, and then everything went awry when Sponge showed up. And the Zyra hasn't had a lot of success. It was 2-5 in group stage, was picked a lot more earlier on, and then teams just kind of shied away from it. But in this game, it's been farming very well, already has 2 items, 2 damage items at that. And if you're ahead and you're dealing with, desperate rel engages, you're going to get a lot of value, at least, in that aspect.
Things just feel pretty great for DRX here, right? The poke composition feels like you're playing from behind the curve, which is the worst place to be. 2 item spikes have not been hit for both Berserker and Bulldog, and I do think that this is the type of situation where, like, if Sponge walks into 3 pieces of poke a little bit too happily, they can still lose a possible contest on a future objective, but Teddy is monstrously fed, which means side laning is going to be kind of a nightmare for the DN Freaks. We have Sponge, who's feeling great, able to build up a pretty substantial lead. UCal, who is getting very close to his transformation as well, and as noted, is making Corki look good.
Yeah, the most impressive part of it all.
Really is.
As Otacon on the bottom of the map this time around.
You can just start it up and maybe try and force a teleport out of Rich.
Yeah, as long as they actually back away and don't just die for no reason.
Well, they're going to have to, because Rich is just going to keep on pushing. So they need to, I guess we're just having to
send Dudu back, yeah.
Leave it at that. All right, the poke. That's what the composition is built around.
Yep, all you got to do is land some poke. TP's coming in. Life is level 8 and struggling a little bit. There's the flank. Life, they're just going to leave him. They're like, no, you're dead, buddy. As the fear comes down, Bulldog now trying to flash away. There's the knockup as the flank from Dudu not nearly as good. Rich trying to get some value, but he's actually being burnt down as a trade of top laners will come through. And DNF at least able to kite back against the Cassante very well. Felt like Rich really tried to force that one, but here comes UCal, and the flash is on in, plus the ult. Not going to get Pyosik this time around, and here comes Berserker. Trying to go crazy. You saw that one smash clip.
Someone has to, because currently DRX get away with yet another play that ends up, I think, mostly being favorable for them, because a lot of flashes on the DN Freaks are used. UCal, Berserker, he's taking matters into his own hand.
I mean, he's hit a spike, right? And there you go. Life comes in and supports his buddy Berserker. And just like that, UCal has to flash.
Again, there's so many waves and layers to this fight. So it starts off with a deep TP from Rich. They do isolate. Then you see this TP from Dudu, and you're like, what's going on? But he's tanked Jace. So while Rich is alone fighting multiple people, actually doesn't really get to do anything, but he does eat the cooldowns and the damage dealers are in there. Then Sponge gets to walk away from the final bit of damage that comes through. But I do think that the poke that Berserker was able to put down should give them prio, because UCal had to back, doesn't have his flash, does still have TP, but his Drake is going to be huge, because if the DN Freaks can get Soul Point, it would be absolutely huge, and I think really, because I feel like they're not that far behind, but the play has just not been very inspiring thus far. Getting this Drake, though, would be huge, and they do have setup. They're the ones in River first. They have prio in mid, and that should be a best-case scenario here. Sponge, though, fleet footwork from him.
Yeah, he's dodging everything. And just going to start it up. And they say, okay, go ahead, try to engage onto us. We will wait for it. Sponge on the Zyra, trying to go for the flank with the gates.
On Neil, ooh, we'll get spotted there.
Yeah.
Trying to look for a flank angle.
Spot the ward as well. I mean, there's really not... There's no wards behind them, behind DNF. So...
The poke is landing, though.
Yeah.
On either side, both Dudu and Life chunked, Sponge and Rich as well. Mid lane prio is there for DN Freaks, though, and they do have a lot more effective range. That's mid lane turret.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. I mean, they're going to get at least equal presence there with the turrets down. And
start hitting those spears, man. Wait.
No. Hey, he hit the plant.
Yeah.
I hit that. Yeah. That was good. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to hit, and that's why we like to see setup for Nidalees, generally. And our teams don't listen to us, but that's just fine. And now trying to go in as the Sport's going to go at it, and they will be traded out here. Dudu and UCal trading blows as well. The Sponge ult kind of just wasted. Doesn't really do much except zone, and now he's very low. A chance here for DNF, perhaps? But they might just back instead?
I was very worried that UCal was going to get his back cancelled by Angry Otacon there. What did we learn here, Veldas? I do not know. I feel
like both teams are very nervous.
I'm trying to divine something that we can really take away from what we just witnessed, and I'm just not quite sure.
I think, you know what I said? I think that's...
It's pressure.
Really the only thing. Because both teams are, it feels like they are walking on...
They're like, oh, I don't want to be the guy to lose the game.
Yeah.
If he gets the wall stun there, I think this play actually ends up working out a lot better. But because Life gets to just buy like a second or two extra, actually gets the progress after, because they are
just doing Baron.
Just doing Nash. This is one of the advantages that you do get with Kai'Sa as well as Zyra, and I think they're going to get it.
Yeah, I mean, they should get it. There's not really much that DNF can do. They're trying to kill Rich here, and they might just be able to, as a little consolation prize, not the disengage cone, please. Okay, there you go. Gonna take him down, but one kill, and DRX got a Baron? And now they can try to utilize that to maybe
do not
stop
take Otacon. Take the Dragon. I know it's a bad trade. You don't want to do Soul, but you cannot do Otacon.
They're going for Otacon.
No, I know. I see the pings, Valdez. But
they're going for Otacon.
There's 4 members alive. I know you have good zone control, but...
well, they baited out the ult.
Well, if they can get an engage, so that'd be huge. 20 seconds until Rich is alive. I just feel like you can get Soul Point here. That's fine. It's there to go.
Okay. They're going to turn onto UCal. The fake Otacon into the UCal kill.
Big.
And now they're going to go for Otacon. So still sights set on this objective, and not the one that Chronicler wants. But that's just okay, as not into the wall. Life will immediately die anyway.
Sponge is still there. Has flash available. It's available now.
Otacon just took a ton of damage, and Berserker as well. In goes Teddy, and there's really... Oh, the fear comes in, and Teddy has to flash out, but the health bars are so low here on the side of DNF. They're just running away, and the peeling fears are really what it's about. The Seeker gonna hit Pyoshik, but no ult available for Teddy. And now DRX just get whatever they want.
Running like Montoya was DNF, but I don't know if they're going to get there in time. And now they're starting the Otacon. Just take the Dragon.
TP coming in. They're not going to let this happen. You're playing into a poke comp. Do they have the damage? They have Zyra. They have Kai'Sa. I think they have the damage, to be honest. They're going to get it low enough. The poke's coming down.
Oh,
down to 2 health. Okay. Well, they get the Otacon. That is done.
All right, they don't know about Dudu.
Okay, just trying to engage here, trying to peel for Berserker. Dudu on the flank. And here comes Zucal. He is Valkyrieing in, flashing into the enemy team. As ult comes down, but UCal does not give a damn, as he will just be rezzed and withdrawn. DRX getting further and further ahead.
Are you familiar with sunk cost fallacy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the dog said too.
I don't know if DN Freaks are. After that sequence,
clearly not.
Unfortunately, as losing the Baron, getting Soul Point, that's something that doesn't feel great. You know, that's rough. That might end up losing you the game, but yeah, Otacon is such a dangerous objective because it shreds health. And you know how, like, when you tank Baron, you need to try and ensure that you kind of swap every now and then so that you get this. Otacon does it AoE. I saw Berserker take like 40% of his health there. Just in autocon damage.
Yeah.
You can't do
Our
this.
teams still don't know.
Because this catch, wonderful. I actually really like the idea of what they do here, right? You bait them in, you hope someone missteps in the rotation, and then that's enough. But again, look at Berserker's health. I assume there's also one piece of poke as hits him as life goes in. Okay, so it's the orbs, and then here I think he tanks the red circle.
Well, okay, we're not going to see it, but it actually uses as well. Like, they're trying to take it down.
Yeah. And then, obviously, as soon as the objective is gone, nothing they can really do. Life there, I don't even know if that crash down would have changed the play, but missing that still is going to feel very, very bad. And this game did not go in the way that we expected in many ways. But I think right now, DRX are looking good for that blue side win.
Yeah. And DNF, maybe their 6th red side loss, which is honestly difficult to do. I feel like with the comp that they got, it doesn't really have much to do with red side at all, right? It's just, they're just not, they haven't figured out how to play from the side. You know, it just hasn't worked out from red side for one reason or another. Maybe some of those losses were draft gaps, but certainly DNF had the tools in this draft to get a win, but it's not what we're seeing. The game isn't over, but the Otacon buff into a Hextech Drake, a 7,000 gold lead for DRX, leads you to believe that eventually they should be able to take this out, especially because Teddy's looking great today. A lot of picks, great timing to go in. He is super fed and has a arm guard as well, so he can kind of just do whatever he wants and blow up any target. Really, the only tanky member is the Jace. The Rel, as we have seen, not so much.
And Berserker's trying, man. Hasn't died yet. I imagine going to be looking good in the damage numbers as well. Did unfortunately kind of get beaten by a PvE encounter. But again, I don't think that specifically was what ended up being their downfall. It just really feels like this DN Freaks roster is just not on the same page. And there's a reason why they're the 6th seed in play-ins, right? It just hasn't really come together the way that it could. Oh, if you look.
He hit a spear. I saw it.
Yep, he did. That did happen. Did hit the 1 spear on the enemy jungler up 2 levels.
Yes.
And 2k gold.
And he healed himself from the poke that he took. So he's got that going for him. And that's about it. Waiting for this Baron to spawn. DNF, they're doing the right thing. They're trying to push out mid and top, and mid as a team. But you can see the level difference even here for AD carries. Berserker will at least hit level 16. It's just a level gap across the board.
We're gonna need some absolute heroics from Berserker if they want to crawl their way back into this game. Did go for BT, which actually will help with this Kai'Sa poke, which at this point is a real menace, as well as the poke from the rest of the team. Maybe you just set up a Baron and hope that they overextend into you. Like,
no vision, really. I mean, there is a flanking Corki and 1 ward, but a lot of poke is landing here from DNF.
Yukao is a nuisance.
All right, just going to flash on into that one, but here comes Teddy on the left. Anvil's going to go down, and Yukao with the flank. It is going to work out perfectly. The timing as he does come in. Dudu, we're going to try to go for the 3v1. Does pick up 1 kill, but he will also hit the floor. Meanwhile, Bulldog being chased by Yukao, and they're just going to try to end the game. TP's coming in. Not even worried about the Baron at this point.
The flanking Corki is the deadliest as Yukao sows enough chaos, allowing an opportunity there for Teddy to dive into the enemy backline. Clean game from him on the Kai'Sa as well, by the way.
Yeah.
As unfortunately for DN Freaks, their red side win rate not going to get any better this time around.
Bulldog desperate to try to clear the wave, and he will be able to a little bit, but not quite enough. Trying to stop this one. Bulldog flashing away life. Just trying to buy as much time as he possibly can. As Zhonya's even going to come down here for Teddy, and they will last hit the Nexus. DRX from the blue side take game 1 in relatively smooth fashion. There were some crazy team fights there in the mid game, but you have to say that the game was mostly in their favor, and just looking great from the beginning of the series.
DRX, again, it feels like they kind of thrive in these more messy games, you know, and I think the coaching staff is looking, I'm like, guys,
he is so frustrated.
We can play this cleaner, right? Like, we didn't have to get this messy, which is warranted, but where credit is due. I think DRX looked good. I think Ando actually had a great game. He's definitely had some up and downs, but in this game was where he needed to be, actually got a lot of value out of the Poppy. It was his catch early on Berserker that I think really hamstrung DN Freaks, because it is really starting to look like, and even though Dudu had a better game, if Berserker doesn't 1v9, this team just doesn't really offer a whole lot. I think the Nidalee pick was just a bit of a disaster. It didn't feel like there was any synergy with the rest of the team. The Spirits weren't hitting. It really did feel like the worst type of pick away, where you're like, we can't give this to Sponge. And then Pioshik ended up having basically zero impact. And the team needs someone to have an impact, Valdez.
Well, they weren't able to find much of that in game one, but DRX feeling pretty good. One win away from moving on to the next round of play-ins. We'll take a break, guys, and we'll be right back for game two.
괜찮아.
이거 대포라인
왜 노플이야?
띵띵띵. 몰라. 풀 모르겠다. 방금
풀 있는 거 안 썼어.
오케이.
안 썼는데.
이제 라크를 이만 못 쓰게 해봐. 이러면 끝난대.
그래 끝났어?
아.
다음만 쳐.
타.
나 흘렸다.
라인. 우쳐. 에라 타. 빨리 타. 타. 네, 다 나와.
치는 척하면서 에라 모르겠다. 빨리.
좋은데? 나왔어.
끝내야 돼. 끝났어.
야, 카이사 신났어.
아 끝났어.
나이스.